All right. We're just going to give people a moment to come into the room. All right. So in the meantime, we're just going to give some cheers up. Thank you, Ann, for being here.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being here. We're just having our sips, guys, and we're just going to enjoy a conversation of healing and laughter and faith and love and perseverance as well. So cheers. Oh, this is good. This is really good. This is actually my first sip of the morning as well.
And a good sip it is.
A great sip it is. So we are just going to come on. Thank all of those that are logging in and watching. My name is Coach Portia. Most of you know me as Sit, Sip, and Chat Queen. And I have a very, very special guest with me. This has been a very long time since we've done something like this. And we are kicking this off with someone very special and dear to my heart. We are sisters through a particular Connecticut chapter that we are both a part of. Mm-hmm. And we both enjoy and love what we do. And we're just sitting and we're going to talk. But I'm going to let this lovely young lady introduce herself. And you guys can ask all the questions or anything that you want to do. Just listen in on the conversation. Please do let us know if you're hearing us okay. If the audio is pretty good. All right, so let us know. So you take the floor. Let us know who you are. What is this brightness that we see about you? Like, what is this glow? Who are you?
Is my Jesus showing?
Yes.
I think that's my Jesus showing.
I love
because,
that. First, let's tell us who you are. First, introduce yourself, because this can be like a conversation for a while. So
my name is Ann Canfield, and I actually have quite the story and quite the testimony. I actually am an owner of Finding Strength Today. I am a life coach, and I actually have a master's in behavior analysis and therapy. And some of you might go, what is that? And what it does is it takes these concepts that we hear about all the way up here, and it brings it right down to that behavior of that everyday change that we're looking for in our lives.
Beautiful.
Because that's kind of where the rubber meets the road. We can all talk about these very broad concepts, but the question is, what specifically are you going to do, and what specific change and tweak in what you do and how you're doing it is going to make the difference. Because we are all on this journey of life. And we don't realize sometimes, but our reality is based on the takeaways from each experience that we have. And the question is life taking you away to where you want to go?
Wow.
That's really what we're looking for. And so in my journey of the life that I've been living, I have come to this place of like, I don't have it all figured out, but I will tell you that my journey has definitely brought me some lessons to share.
Thank you.
With others.
And you're going to be sharing much of that with us today. So again, thank you, Ann. Ann, if you could just sort of let us know again, just a little bit about your story, why you have this glow. What is this perseverance that you've been speaking to me about behind the scenes that you want to share of the testimony for yourself? Just go in a little bit about that.
So, in my adulthood, I actually met the man of my dreams.
Woo!
A very handsome, eye candy kind of guy. Because God knows I am all about the eye candy. He's like, I know how I'm going to get you guys together. But I kept saying, I need to know the story behind this guy. There is a story that I must know. And I went on my first date with him. And he literally said out of his mouth, I have epilepsy. And as the word left his lips, he had a seizure right in front of me.
On your first date?
On my very first date. And it was not this full-blown on the ground. It was this very, like, I don't know, and just kind of spacing out right at the table. Now, being the person that I was, the waitress came over, and she was very concerned about this young man. And I was like, I don't really know him. I've got to go. I got a thing. And I literally was going to get up and leave. Like, you talk about, like, uncomfortable, awkward. He came out of the seizure, and he's like, I am so sorry. And he came out of the seizure, and he proceeded to tell me, with such vulnerability and honesty, of his life. Wow. Of where he had been, and his surgeries, and his family. And that moment was like, this is the kind of person that I want in my life.
Wow.
Somebody who's got this vulnerability and honesty of like, I'm just going to lay it all on the table for you of who I am. And it was a wonderful night, and he's such a wonderful guy. And we went back to his apartment to drop him off because he did not drive. Mm-hmm. And you'd think that would have given me a clue that there was an issue. But do you know why I thought he did not drive?
Why?
Because I thought he was an environmentalist. And how sexy is that? I thought this guy rides a bike everywhere because he is so environmentally friendly. Of course I love you. And I want to go on. Of course I'll pick you up. Because you don't drive because you're saving the environment. I never thought, wow, this guy must have a disorder where he can't drive. That was not my first thought.
So I just want to pause here because so many people in the dating game, and I know this is not what this is about, after that first date and you separated and you went about your way, what was your initial thoughts? Because you know how everybody says, I need a man with a car, I need this, I need that.
So this is a wonderful question because I got in my car and I looked up and I said, God, did I forget to mention like no brain disorders in my request? And I clearly heard God come back to me, and do you know what he said?
What?
He said, you are not perfect. You have asked me for someone who needs you, and you have asked me for a slumber party mate for the rest of your life. Wow. And this is the man that you are going to marry. And I said, no, this can't be the guy. And the next day, I actually went out with my friends, and I will never forget this day. And I said, I'm not going back out with this guy. There's no way I'm going back with that. I have had such a tumultuous childhood and such a hard childhood. There's no way that I could deal with this. And do you know what they said? Well, did you have a good time? I said, amazing time. They said, then you should go back out with him again. And I go, I don't think you're hearing me. No, you have a good time. You should really give him the benefit that he can't help it that he has seizures. And then they said, so does he take his margarita, shake it, or stir? And I go, again, not helping the situation. Yeah. But to me, I have a great sense of humor. And of course, I did what most people would do, and I said, I'm going to put this guy to the test. Let's see, is he Catholic? Check! Okay. Yes. Okay. If it's really meant to be, he's going to bring me flowers today. Check! I get flowers. If he's really the guy, then he's going to compliment me today. Check. Like every single check of something. And literally, like, falling, like, oh my God, he's just so wonderful. But then he was very hesitant to kiss me, which was like, okay, are we going into like the friend zone now? Because now I'm kind of thinking we should be together, but now you're not going to kiss me. And let me tell you, that moment came, and I will never forget. We're on the couch watching Seinfeld, which we both adore Seinfeld. Love Seinfeld. And he sits over and he looks at me and goes, this is so right. This is just right. There's something about this. Yeah. I'm having a moment. This is so right. And I looked at him, I said, it is. Sure. It is right. Sure. And after 21 years of marriage, I can tell you, it still is right. And it gets better every single day. That is so beautiful. That is just
so courageous and just so amazing. And I love your energy behind the story, yet 21 years later. Because there was an unspoken portion of time that no one else sees.
Right.
So we want to delve into some of that unspoken portions.
Sure.
So from a YouTube video that I watched that was very beautiful, produced by yourself, you sort of bring us into the story about you and your husband and some of the live, prayed, and waited. We're going to go into each of those parts or each of those areas, and I just want you to just put us at the mercy of your seat. Make us know who Ann was during these times.
Sure.
So once you found out that he, obviously on your first date, was having seizures,
Yep.
I believe, how long after that did you guys marry?
We actually waited 4 years
Okay.
till we married because we were trying to get the money together and we were trying to be sure that we had everything set financially because we were kids. We were like 24 years old and we were
Yes.
these young children. And we were like, oh, let's be sure we have everything set before we get married because we wanted to get the house, get married, like had it set.
Okay.
So.
And so even during, so let's talk the marriage date and the marriage and after.
Sure.
Like what led to the, I want to get the word right for the, what did he?
Neuropace. The
Neuropace. Okay.
Yep.
So let's go in between from marriage, the time you had your son, through the neuropace.
Sure.
So just sort of bring us on a quick ride with you.
So I will tell you, we ended up, everything was amazing. Our whole engagement and dating was phenomenal. And he only had, when he originally told me on that first date, I just have about 4 seizures a month. And I'm like, that's a seizure? Because I will blow that away in a temper tantrum like nobody's business. That just buys me leverage in this relationship we got going on right now. Like I felt like we are totally good. So then when we got married, we ended up getting our first house.
Okay.
The night that we moved into our house, the goal was to bring some stuff over to the house and then go back to our apartment for the next day to move all of our furniture. We're at the new house, and we had a pool, and he said, I think I'm going to go take a swim. I said, wonderful. Takes a swim, he comes out, and he goes, you know what, I don't think I've got any change of clothes. Well, that's a problem. Let's go back to the apartment, but it was getting dark, and Lady says, you know what, why don't we get really cool with it, and we're just going to fall asleep right on the floor with our blankets and our towels and our pillows.
Yeah.
2 o'clock in the morning, I wake up because he's having a grand mal seizure.
Oh.
I don't even know my own address. I'm like panicked. Oh my gosh, I went outside. The firemen come. I go, come on, he's over here. And there's my husband sprawled out. Unbelievable. I follow the ambulance to the hospital in the U-Haul truck.
Okay.
And I thought, you have to fix him. That is not the program that I signed up for. I signed up for 4 seizures a month. That was the program. And I realized at that moment, greater things are coming. And the program is going to change, and so it has.
Okay.
So that was our first, test in the water. And I realized at that moment, God's got it. It's going to be okay. It's going to be good. It's all going to turn out. And then we ended up having I got pregnant with our son.
Okay.
And 5 months into that pregnancy, my 4 seizures a month went to 10. And I was like, okay, I don't know what we're going on here. I'm not really sure what's happening. So he ended up having to quit his position that he had. He was working for Arthur Anderson. Arthur Anderson got bought out.
Okay.
And about 10 months into it, I said, here's the deal. We lived in Arizona. Beautiful Gilbert, Arizona, with all the sun and the beauty. Beautiful house in the islands.
Yes.
And I said, I think we need to move to Connecticut to be near your family.
Okay.
And he's like, what? I don't want to go to Connecticut. I said, here's the deal. See, this is a lot for us to do. We're out here, we have friends, but I said, we have no family. And I'm thinking about you and where we're going on your journey. And I'm really feeling like we're going to need some more family support.
So I just want to stop you there. What was happening with Ann at that moment when she said, we need to go to Connecticut to be closer to your family?
I felt at that point that I was seeing the burning bush. And my life has always been led for what is the will of God here? What is the will of God, and what does God want you to do? And as much as we want to feel good, and we're always looking for the happiness, and we're always looking for something to come to us,
yes,
sometimes there's moments in our life where we realize obedience is really important. And God is not calling us to our happiness. God's calling us to our holiness. That's really the objective.
Wow.
And I will never forget driving down the road one day, thinking about whether to move or not. And God clearly saying to me, if fear is the only thing that's keeping you from moving, then you need to move. Because God is with you, and God will be with you no matter where you go and no matter what you do. But fear is not a good enough reason not to move. Because that was kind of the thought, like, oh, I don't have a job, I don't have a place, what are we going to do? God's like, I don't want fear. I want you to give me another reason. If you give me a better reason, then I think you should stay. But if fear's it, then I think you've seen your burning bush, and you need to go. And literally every single person in my world never said it, but everybody thought I was crazy. Everybody. Every person was like, you're just going to get up and move? And I literally called his father and I said, look, it's not working here. We're going to move back to Connecticut. And he said, sure, we'll support you with whatever you need. He hung up the phone. I went in and I gave my notice and I said, I'm moving on my birthday, November 3rd, which is coming up. I'm going to move on my birthday and we're moving to Connecticut. Little did I know at that time that his father, when he was telling me, sure, no problem, whatever you need, he actually was having a medical issue. And I don't think he realized what he was sending into motion. So I literally went into work, I said, November 3rd, I'm moving in 1 month. He goes, you have a house, you have a job. What? I go, we're moving. I feel like my burning bush is here, we're moving on my birthday. So I literally took a day off, went home. Dan's like, I don't want to move. I go, fine, then stay here. I am telling you right now, I am moving. I feel the call and I must go. Sat in front of my house, my beautiful, gorgeous house in the islands that I loved, and sobbed and wept at 2 o'clock in the morning. But I knew this must happen.
And so you shift to Connecticut.
Yep.
With probably some highs and lows throughout.
Yes.
So once you got to Connecticut, what happened with your life? What happened with your relationship as it goes to Ann, the wife, supporting the husband and supporting your son? What did that look like?
It was incredibly difficult. And it's interesting because we just sent our son off to college, and people will go, wow, you've done such an amazing job, and you've done such a great job. And I'm like, just so that we're really clear, God did all that work. Because I'm going to tell you, and Eric, if you're listening, it's okay, but I'm not going to lie to you. God is the one who helped raise that child. Because there was a lot of like, what are we doing with this? What's going on here? I don't know what we're doing. Because it was hard. It was very difficult. And it was very hard to do all those roles. Because a lot of it was like, how are we doing this? What do we need to do? His medical care got harder. What I do know is that I felt that I was on a mission, that I knew in my heart of hearts, and I felt it in my bones, you are not going to have these seizures for the rest of your life.
Wow.
These seizures will be broken. I don't know when. I don't know how. I know that I am going to be used for good, and God's glory will be seen in this world. I know that. So I brought him up to Dartmouth and New Hampshire to appointments. I brought him to Torrington, and then I went to Yale. We sat at Yale when my son was 5 years old, looked at the doctor, and the doctor said, well, I think we should try the nerve base. I think we should try to stop these seizures. Wouldn't that be nice?
Wow.
And I said, I can't believe it. You're the first doctor that's saying, I think we could stop the seizures.
Wow.
And so...
After years of just...
That's right. Of everybody saying, whatever, go, just take some meds. Just take some meds, be on disability. This is the best you're going to get.
Wow.
So Dr. Susan Spencer at the Yale Medical Center she said, I think we should try to stop the seizures.
Wow.
Let's put you on that path. And
so just bring me to Ann just before that happened. Was there anything going on with you that said, I can't do this anymore?
Every single day. Every day. Every day I was living on faith and a prayer. I cannot tell you how much of my life was like, I don't know what we're doing here. What are we doing? How are we doing this? Like getting up and functioning was literally just surviving.
Wow.
And I'm not going to lie about that. And the reason why I'm not going to lie about that is because sometimes it's obedience and it's being faithful. Mm-hmm. And it's realizing that you need to put yourself on the shelf.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
And you need to realize that your purpose isn't always just made for you.
Yes.
Because all of these other people that were in my world and that were looking and watching are taking from your example, and they're seeing you getting through, and they're seeing you be faithful, and they're seeing you take care of your husband, they're seeing you take it, and they're taking that when they have a hard time and they have a difficulty, they're going, wait a minute, this other person's doing it, I can do this too.
Yeah.
And that's what my takeaway was.
So what I know we spoke and you said there was a breaking point. It was a moment you had gone to church.
Yep.
You were in the church and then you left. Tell me about that moment.
That moment was such a defining moment. I was at Walnut Hill Church, driving to church, and my husband could not remember the song on the radio. He's heard this song 50 times, 100 times. Couldn't remember. We're driving to church, and I was like, I can't take it. I cannot take this. I cannot live this way anymore. This is too hard. I went into church. My son and my husband went into the children's program. I sat in the pew, and I sobbed. And I said, God, take this cross away from me.
Wow.
I need to leave. I want to get on I-95 South, and I want to go back to Florida. You've chosen the wrong person for this journey.
Mm-hmm. And at that point, how long had you been in the journey?
My son was 5 years old. He was 5 years old, so I had been in 9 years.
9 years, okay.
And I said, you've chosen the wrong person. I can't do this because we weren't really getting money answers. We weren't getting very far. And I'm like, I just can't, because his memory started to go. Like the seizures were one thing, but the cognitive ability and the memory that you can't remember the life that we're spending, and you're not remembering the connection and there's no relationship. Yeah. If there's no relationship, I'm feeling like I'm sunken, I'm defeated. Yeah. It's not about the seizures, it's about the whole person. I'm losing the Dan I fell in love with. I'm losing that person.
Yes.
And God clearly showed me a vision. He showed me someone taking a bottle, throwing it out to sea. And I looked down, and all this beautiful, gorgeous sea glass is washing up in my feet. And God clearly told me, I am going to transform this in ways that you are never going to imagine. Wow. And I just need you to trust me. I need you to trust me.
And that was there while you're sitting in the pew sobbing.
I literally was begging.
Wow.
I literally was like, you have to take this away. Like, I literally was like, I can't do this. Wow. I cannot do this. And he did. And I went out, walked out of the pew, and I literally looked at my husband, sobbing. He's like, why are you crying? And I looked at him. I said, I love you so much. I said, I would give my life to take this burden from you. Yes. I would give my life and soul. But God has told me that's not my job. But I will promise you that I will trust Him, and I will love you, and I will meet you where you are.
Pause right there, because a lot of times, and I don't want to lose the story, but I'm just feeling this so potently in my inner. A lot of times when we take on that caretaker, nurturer, wifely, friend, all in all for our companions or for our children, we feel like we have to carry their burden.
Right.
When we're there to help
Exactly.
the burden along the way, just to make it a little lighter.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what God was like, I'm the one doing the work. I am going to be the one that's going to transform this. It's not your job.
What happened with Ann when you heard those words?
I felt such a sense of comfort. And I felt like God saying, it's going to be, I've got you. I have got this wrapped up in a bow. And I don't need you to worry about you. Because It's like the daisy chain. Have you ever seen, like, when the baby was in the well and you have this daisy chain of people that are helping?
Yes.
The person that is reaching their hand out, do they ever say, hey, you have my feet? I'm trying to help them, but I just need to be absolutely positive. Do you have my feet? They don't say that.
Right.
They put their complete focus on who they're helping.
Yeah.
They don't look back to check that somebody's got them. And God clearly is saying to us, I need you to just go forward with what I've given you. I don't need you to worry about you because I've got your feet. I have got your back.
That is powerful.
Do you know?
Yes.
And we lose sight that our mission and our purpose is not always meant for us. God's going to take care of us. It's our job to reach out for somebody else, for the next person.
Yes. And for you, in this instant, it was your husband.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I was like, oh my gosh.
So let's fast forward a little bit from the church scene. I want you to finish that, and then go to the neuropace. So finish the church scene, and then you telling your husband how much you loved him, sobbing, and he's like, "What?
What's the problem? I don't understand. I don't even remember what's going on. Where am I? I don't even know who I am. Who are you?" Dear, I'm your wife. I love you. Love you. Does that help? Words, visual.
Yeah. And so what happens during that time? Please, by all means, take a sip. This is really good. This is really a great conversation. So then what happens after the church scene?
So the church scene, we go through getting all the testing that needs to happen with the neuropace. And the first step in the neuropace is you have to have this internal EEG.
Okay.
The week of his internal EEG, Susan Spencer, the doctor who told us to give us hope, she died, unfortunately. Bless her soul, she passed away very suddenly.
Before she could do the neuropace?
Right. It was her husband who stepped in to do the stuff. She had passed away, which was very sad. But it let us know that, you know what, it's God who's directing and orchestrating. It's not a human. It's God that's orchestrating. So her husband was the neurosurgeon. So he had stepped in and he had done
So she was the vessel that instilled the hope.
Yep.
She had since passed.
Right.
This is how, I believe in footsteps.
Yes.
And energy and that guidance of it all that is all powerful.
Exactly.
That we cannot explain. So her husband then, Dr. Spencer, became the
neurosurgeon.
Okay.
Who did the internal EEG. They went in to do this internal EEG to figure out where exactly the seizures are coming from.
Yes.
In order to pinpoint so they can insert the neuropace. When they did that, after the 15-hour surgery, he was not coming back online. He was not speaking. He was not communicating. He was literally just like blank. And they said, we've had some issues. Because the left temporal lobe is so compromised from another surgery that he had. We've had some issues. And I said, what do you want to do? What should we do? Should we take them out? He goes, the damage has already been done. We're just going to have to move forward. And I think you need to finish this because we need to find out where the seizures are coming from in order to see if we can help him. And I said, okay, we're going to do that. He was in rehab for a couple of weeks. He became 10-second Tom. Again, a whole other set of trials.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. Now we kind of moved past that. Then we go to implanting the neuropace. We go to implant the neuropace, and his skull caved in on his brain during the surgery. And I unfortunately, and don't judge me, I had a job to do because I had to work. And the surgery was going to be like 8 hours. So the surgery was at Yale. I dropped him off. I went and saw him. I gave him a hug and a kiss. Emotionally, you can only imagine how hard this is.
Yes.
And I said, I love you. I'm going to be back. And I will come back. And I went to work.
Yes.
So while I'm at work, the doctor calls and goes, yeah, we've had a little bit of an issue.
Oh, my God.
Your husband's skull has caved in on his brain. And I said, well, can't you just put it back? Well, what's the problem? You're right. Just put it back.
Yeah.
They said, we don't know how much damage would be sustained. And so we're not really sure. We can't give you any answers. In that moment, my heart just about broke. I got off that phone call and I was in Torrington, Connecticut at my job, sobbing. I literally was hyperventilating in the cafeteria for 15 straight minutes. Like, what have you done? How could you do this? I can't believe you tried. Why did you ever? You should have just left him alone. Like, I was just like, oh my gosh, if something happens to this man that God has entrusted me with. Now, mind you, it was on Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th, number one. Just a little note for all you listeners out there. Secondly, I had a feeling something about this surgery was not going to go well. Because the year did not start off well. Everything in January was like the opposite.
Yes.
And I said, something about the surgery does not feel right. So when this happened, I was like, I knew it. I just knew it. So I show up at the surgery place. I was a basket case. I showed up. And gratefully, they brought me in. They said, we have good news. The good news is he does not sustain any injury. It seems like we were able to just tapped his brain. We put it back, and we put a whole plate on it, and I think we're going to be good. And I said, I'm going to have to come back tomorrow. We have to figure out what we're doing. He's like, we'll talk tomorrow. Let's just all take a breath and come. And it was Valentine's Day. I said, what time do you want me to show up? 7 o'clock. I went home, and that was the worst night I ever lived.
I'm sure.
Like, I literally was like, what are you doing to this man? Why are you
So who was this conversation with now?
Myself. Like, literally with God, like, I don't understand. Did I make a mistake? What have I done? Is this where we're supposed to be? And I'm also looking at my motives. My motives are really important. And I can't be thinking, like, I'm thinking my motive was for him and for us. But is it like, am I selfish and I'm just doing it for myself, or was I doing it for him? Because now here we are, and is this going to get better? I go the next morning, and the surgeon, and I asked, I said, what do you think we should do?
Yeah.
Do you think we should move forward?
Yeah.
Am I going to cause more harm? And he looked at me and he said, I'm going to assure you, number one, I put that plate in to make it easier for me to put the neuropace in.
I see.
Number two, he said, I can tell you right now, looking at his case, you have no option. You must go forward because his case is so complicated and his seizures are so hard. This is a good option for you.
Wow.
Debrief. I'm
Yes.
like, okay, it's going to be okay. And that kind of gave me that reassurance to be like, it's going to be okay. Because the challenge is, as hard as it is, losing my husband.
Yes.
Every minute of every day.
Yeah.
I lose a little bit of him.
Yes.
His memory, his cognitive, his seizures. It is incredibly difficult to be a caregiver for your spouse. It's not the same as your parents who are elderly.
Okay.
It's not the same as your child. This is supposed to be your life partner. This is supposed to be the one that completes you.
Yeah.
And when you're caring for them and you lose them, it's a loss. And as much as it hurts, I thought, I can't live without him. And on Valentine's Day, we have this amazing picture of us. The love at that moment to be like, I love him so completely. I will take any part that I can get till my last breath.
Yes.
It's the kind of love where you pray that you die first because you can't imagine a day without
Yes.
them.
Yes.
It's that kind of love. So it's been amazing, and it was the best Valentine's Day ever. I borrowed the nurse's donuts. I said, here's a little love to you, all love that you're giving out to all people. And then I thought, and again, never again Friday the 13th. You'll never have a surgery on Friday the 13th again.
So then they put the NeuroPace in.
Yeah.
After all this drama.
Yes.
So what's going on with Ann? What's going on? I want to also tap into your son. What was going on with him? But what was going on with Ann, like now that the NeuroPace is in, you're working, you're caregiver, you're taking care of your son. How did you take care of Ann, the woman? How did you, what did you do for you during these times?
A lot of conversations with God, first of all. But Dan's father was a staple in my life. He was my biggest cheerleader.
Okay.
He was the one who's like, you got it, it's going to be good, you're going to take care of it. Like, he really was the one who kept me going. And I also have women in my life, my best friend, Barbara, down in Florida, who really is the person and has been a staple of carrying me through these moments.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily of the, oh my gosh, she's got this quiet peace and hope about
that part.
And you know what I've learned?
It's
not about the presence and the gifts and the physical things.
Yeah.
People are looking for your presence of being with you.
Yeah.
There's something about that means so much more at the end of the day.
So bring us to that moment, because a lot of people, and I will say church people, because we're talking about this too, don't know what to do when a crisis happens. What does, and I'm sure for everyone it varies, but you said something that was very generic. Number one, what I heard was there's something about someone else with you that has peace during your storm.
Right.
And then there's also a support, not meaning gift-wise.
Right.
Even though I'm sure you could have used it financially, you know, the baby has to eat, you know, Ann has to get to work, you know, you're dealing with bills and all these things.
Yeah.
I'm sure monetarily these things could definitely help. What does receiving looks like when a person really needs it during a time like this that you're going through?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because you talk about my son. And when my husband was in the hospital and his skull caved in, we needed that support and that love, because my son was very small, and he needed to be taken care of because I needed to be at the hospital. And I will never forget driving in the car with my son, and my son is not speaking very much. He's not talking. And I told him, and I said, you know, I know you don't want to talk about this. I know you don't want to talk about what's happening in our life right now. But I'm going to tell you something, Eric. Anybody can do healthy and wealthy. That's easy stuff. But I'm going to tell you right now, this hard stuff that we're going through right now, this stuff is where the meat of life comes from. And it's like a compliment from God. Because God gives this to us because he knows we have broad shoulders, and we know that we are going to go to him, and his glory is going to be shown through that dependence, number one. And I said, number two, I said, I understand that you're feeling like we're imposing on other people, like we're asking them for a favor and we're asking them for help. But I promise you, they are the ones who are getting the gift.
Yes.
Because people want to give to you. And it would be wrong for us to be like, we don't need that, we don't need that, we don't need that. Because there's a gift in somebody being able to give back to you. And because he was being brought around and he just didn't like to. And I said, you know what? We're not imposing, I promise you. You're not imposing, you're not a challenge, you're not a burden. We're giving, but that giving and that receiving, they work together. They're literally interlocked because we're both in the giving and the receiving at the same time. And I said, you have to see that. And I said...
So, and that was his burden that he was carrying.
Right.
Not wanting to impose on others.
Right, because he just felt like, well, can't we just be self-reliant? Can't we just not let anybody know? Can't we just shield ourselves in our house and just pretend like it's going to go away?
And this is the mind of a young one.
Correct. And to me, I go, no, you can't You can't just shield yourself and not, because
Keep talking.
To him, he might think to himself, I don't want anyone to know. I don't want to share my hurt. I don't want to go to a vulnerable place and let people know that I need them. For a child, there's a fight-flight kind of concept, and some children are like, I got a problem. I have a problem. Everybody come to my aid. And then there's other children being like, I don't have a problem. Everything is fine.
Especially male children.
I'm going to hold it all in, and I'm just going to pretend and it's going to go away. And I don't need anybody to know, because I can handle it. I can do it myself. And this opportunity, as awful and as terrible as it was a moment for me to teach him a lesson, to say, you can't do that. That's not a healthy or the way that you can address this. It's okay that people know we have an issue. It's okay to say, we need a little help. Can you help us? I will take your gift. I will take your gift of your presence. Because guess what? I'm a very educated person. I can go and make all the money in the world. I don't care about the money. I don't care if I live in a shoebox or bag on the side of the street. That doesn't matter. But this is what makes a difference. At the end of the day, this is what our life is or isn't. Because when I give to you, I make an impression, an impact, and then you're going to give to somebody else. And it's going to flow. And that's like the glory of God. And isn't that what we're all looking for? Is that connection?
I think a lot of us miss that piece, though. We miss that piece of, giving, receiving, and giving back out. So it's almost like I'm seeing a 3-string cord for yourself. You're giving to your husband, shifting that giving around. And that giving is coming back into your home, into your son that needed to be cared for. And even though your son didn't understand at the time, and even though your giving was inside of your home, which is, I think, the greatest giving, starting at home, which you had a great test of that. You had such a great test of that in the home. I just think this is just a great, beautiful story of just testimony. So we touched a little bit about you're praying, you're talking to God. You prayed. The part where you were living. Let's live, prayed, waited. Let's talk a little bit about the waited part, and then we're going to talk about living.
Sure.
So the waited part, after the neural pace was implanted, if that's the right word. So what was going on then?
So then, of course, my son is very involved in theater. He's been in theaters all over Connecticut. He's been doing theater since he was 4 years old.
Wow.
Lots of theater, lots of driving, lots of mom, lots of craziness going on. So that was a lot of what we were doing. And what they do is you scan your head every day. The information goes into the computer. You go to your doctor's appointment, and then they look at it, and then they adjust the neural pace with their magic wand. That's what they do. It's a magic wand. There is a magic wand. And they correct it. And the seizures kept coming, and the seizures kept coming, and they did not stop. So during this point, of course, my son would say to me, I don't understand this God thing at all. I don't understand God. I'm not experiencing God. What is God? And do you know what I told him? I said, I'm going to help you. I said, there's going to be a moment in your life. I don't know when it is. I don't know where you're going to be. I don't know who you're going to be with, and I have no idea what circumstances it will be in. But what I do promise you, you will have a moment in your life where not a human in this world will be able to meet you where you are. And in that moment, you will find God. And I would hate to have to tell you that is true. But it is. Well, I have you and Dad. I go, no, we will not be able to assist you because it's got to be that thing from God. And you will meet your God where you are. So a lot of it was him kind of seeing, because of course to his way, you did the neural pace and we did all this. Show me where God is now. There's it's not. It didn't fix it. Where's your God? I said, my God is working. I know for a fact that my God is working. And I'll never forget driving to work or driving the thing, and I kept thinking to myself, in God's time, It's all going to be in God's time.
And this is part of the waiting.
And this is part of the waiting. And it was always the fact that in God's time, and it is God's will be done. It is not my will. If it was my will, bing, we put it in, we program it, ta-da! No seizures.
Yeah.
But here's the greatness of that. Are you ready for this?
Sure.
One concern I had when they implanted that NeuroPace, don't laugh at me, do not laugh at me. The concern I had is, what if he gets cured and he drives and he realizes that there's a lot of other women out there and he leaves me and he realizes, God, she is such a brat. I have options now because I don't need someone with a car. And I'm going to tell you, vulnerable moment. I had a real concern about that. What if he leaves? And apparently God was like, yeah, then I'm just not going to heal him because it's still, I got some work to do with you. We're going to put that concern right to rest. And then I was like, he's not going to heal. Well, apparently he's not going to leave me. I guess that's a good thing. I still get him. Because you have to remember, from most people's minds,
yes,
from the outside it would appear that he needed me. But in reality, that was not the case. In order for me to be who I am, I needed him.
Yes.
God was doing an amazing work in that moment while we waited. He was doing an amazing work because there's this thing called SUDEP. Sudden Unexplained Death of Epileptics.
Oh.
It's a horrible thing. And for some reason, they thought it would be a phenomenal idea to start putting ads about this all over the place. Now, I can appreciate that you want to put ads out and you want to educate people about this. Because the ad says something to the effect of, hey, by the way, if you have epilepsy and you have seizures, you should relate to the doctor and try to stop those seizures because you can have SUDEP. How do you think I feel listening to that ad? Do you think there's actually people that are having seizures that don't go to the doctor? To go, yeah, I just black out everywhere, but I'm not going to go to the doctor and check it. I don't want to stop them. I don't know what it is. Is that happening? No offense at all if you're part of SUDEP. I admire what you do. But for me, for someone who's trying and can't stop them and the seizures started getting worse, I had to call them and I said, here's the deal. Can you please rebrand your marketing? Because I can't sleep at night.
Right.
I am paranoid that my husband is going to die in the night. And I had challenges with that. Because every night I would check, is he breathing? Okay, still breathing. I was paranoid. I was ridiculously paranoid. God said, need to be doing a good work there. And he showed me a vision of him and the sun, and he said, here you are and you're orbiting God, and here's Dan and he's orbiting God. You are not one. I know you want to think that you're one, and I know you think there's an umbilical cord. But here's the deal, there's no umbilical cord. I take care of you and I take care of him. I need you to realize that maybe the breakthrough isn't going to be for you. Maybe the breakthrough is going to be for other people. But I need you to realize that, God forbid, if his life should be taken, if it should get worse, if the journey gets harder, I'm going to take care of that. That's my job. God's like, that's my job. That's not your job. And if he should pass away because of SUDEP, your world is not going to come crashing down.
I see.
Because again, going back to my daisy chain, I've got your feet. I need you to keep reaching out. I need you to do what you do best. I don't need you to worry about yourself. And that, in the game of the waiting, those are the lessons to be learned.
Wow. I love the roadmap of all the things that you've taken from this. I mean, I know, there's a lot of parts of people that just would have sunk and have sunk way back when, but you seem to have done a great job, you and your parts, with traveling and taking the journey and grasping nuggets as you went through.
And a lot of that is this concept of learning to be vulnerable with yourself. learning and having the self-awareness for yourself, because here's the secret. I'm going to tell you a secret.
Let's listen for the secret.
Nobody needs to know the deepest, darkest secrets that you hold in your heart. But here's the deal. You need to be able to go there with yourself.
Yes.
And that is really, really difficult. But you and I both know, and everybody listening, we know what those are. We know when there's a blockage. Mm-hmm. We can feel it. We can sense it.
We experience it.
We experience it, and we have to be able to ask, why? Where is this coming from?
Yes.
What does this mean? Go there with yourself. Just because you tell yourself doesn't mean it's not broadcasted. Hey, by the way, Ann's telling her, did you hear she's afraid her husband's going to die because she thinks she's going to become an alcoholic. Did everybody hear?
Yeah.
Guess what? If it's in my mind, it's still in my mind.
Yeah.
But I need to be vulnerable enough with myself to go there.
Yes.
I need to be able to say, so hold on a minute. You're afraid that if your husband dies and you lose him, that you're not going to be able to support yourself and you are going to sink because he's your rock. Is that what you're telling me? You need to be able to go there with yourself.
Yes.
And part of my journey...
Face the truth.
That's correct. You have to base your truth of your journey. Because again, it goes back to motive. And it's so hard for us to get there. And that's why we hire coaches. That's why we hire coaches. Because the coaches allow you the space and the time for you to increase your own self-awareness.
Yeah, your own inner truth. Your own inner truth.
Right. And there's something about you saying it out loud. And I know all you people talk to yourself in your cars. I know you do. Don't tell me you don't. Because I will tell you, I have met myself in the darkest places in my car driving down the road to a song. Just saying. We can thank all those artists out there. Pay the 99 cents for the song. Pay for the song. Always pay for the song.
Yes.
Because if it's going to increase your self-awareness, it's done its job.
Yes.
Cheapest therapy you'll ever get is a song.
There you go. Music is so true.
It's true. But again, you have to be able to take that journey within yourself.
So let's talk about the living part.
Yeah.
So now husband comes home. You've just celebrated.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about the the living part of what you guys did to cherish the moment and even to help husband even regain or just share in living. What was that like?
So it's been very difficult because he does not remember more than a week or two at a time.
Wow. Oh my God. Is this like that movie?
51st dates. I am living 51st dates. I'm not kidding you.
Oh,
totally not
my
kidding.
God.
He literally only remembers 1 to 2 weeks at a time, and then it just fades off.
Okay.
He remembers facts, but he
Yes.
doesn't have any memory of them, which makes it very difficult, as you can only imagine.
Yes.
So part of our philosophy of our non-negotiable in our world is we only have a limited amount of money in our funds. We have not spent that money on our housing and improving our house and physical things.
Yes.
We have spent that money on memories. Let's see, should we redo the bathroom or should we take a trip somewhere?
Yes.
Should we do this or should we do this? We
Yes.
will always choose the memories and the living.
Good.
Because we don't know what tomorrow brings.
Right.
Going back to our suit-up, right? We
Yes.
don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. We're going to
Yes.
enjoy the trip. We're not going to buy the shoes. Even though sometimes I really want to buy the shoes. We're not going to. Because when my son grows up and leaves and he's telling stories, is he going to go, oh my gosh, when we were growing up, we had the best ceramic floor my mom had put in.
Right, who says that?
By the way, we had the best painted room. My mom spent like a really lot of money on this room. By the way, did I tell you about the recliner that my mom bought? He's not going to say that, but he is going to say, I've been to these Broadway shows. Let me tell you about the memory of going to see Cats.
Let's just pause. I just want to pause in that. So the parents, did you guys really capture that right now? Even not just parents, but for those of us that have, these power couples that want to do all of these like crazy things and show all of this elaborations and just doing more than you should. The question is, what memories have you created for yourself that last? Let's start living our lives as this 2-week interval.
Right.
2 weeks at a time.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I've always laughed because I said I've got like the ghetto house. And it was like the joke forever. Like I literally was like, I don't care that my house looks like a ghetto because it's all up here, baby.
There you go.
Because here's what I do.
So let's go. Oh, go ahead.
I create a book for my husband.
Yes.
For the year. And I put all the photos with context and stories of his life in a book. So every year on Christmas, like the week after, he gets a book of his life. Looking at that book, it's as if someone else lived it.
Yes.
Because he doesn't have those memories.
And so then he's looking and saying, what happened here?
Yeah.
And what
I went to see, I don't remember that guy's name, Willie Nelson, the guy who did Devil Came Down to Georgia. We went to see that.
Yeah.
Like we had an argument about going to Cancun. I said, we didn't go to Cancun. I said, we went to Cancun for our 15th birthday. There's no way I've been to Cancun. Yes, you did. You've been to Cancun. Like he doesn't. It's as if you're reading somebody else's story.
Wow.
But again, you're looking to say, because the challenge is the memories can be good, but the problem is when you have an argument, he's having a bad day, what do you think he says?
See.
We should get a divorce. We argue all the time. This relationship is a sham. And I'm like, it's not. We have a wonder. No, we don't. The whole thing is terrible. I'm like, no, it's really not. Dude, look at the book. Look, we're having a great life, see? So you have to kind of gauge that, right?
Yeah.
Again, going back to that.
So how is this living for you? And this time, what are the lessons that you're grabbing while living now that he's post the neural pace and post the traumatic grand mal seizures? Yeah. Maybe a little under cuff where they're not as noticeable.
Right.
But the healing part of him having gone through all that, and the human body, this is another fascinating thing, is that the human body sustaining all of these things that are in it now to help it on its way.
His condition, he is not having seizures, but his condition, like his cognitive, his memory, continues to decline. We still have our issues, but I will tell you, I read the book, which I love, A Purpose-Driven Life.
Yes.
I
was just talking about that book with someone.
Changed my life.
Rick Warren, right?
Yep, Rick Warren. That book changed my life because I was in the car. They couldn't get the NeuroPace to program. They couldn't get it to work. Dan's father, unfortunately, had passed away. That was incredibly traumatic because you can imagine his world is already so small.
Yeah.
His father was a huge part of his world. His father passes away. 3 months later, my uncle, who I had spoken to all the time, passes away. Mm-hmm. I was at my wit's end. Dan's seizures went off the rails. He was having 1 to 2 seizures every single day. And they said he's becoming medically resistant and there's nothing that we can do. So they would keep giving him different medication. They gave him a new medication and then he would become suicidal. Mm. So it was either suicide or seizures. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what am I doing with this? Because now my cheerleaders, my father-in-law, who says you got it, and my uncle, who was somebody I was in contact, were gone. They were deceased. Mm-hmm. In my car, during lunch, at work, I called my husband and I said, he called me. He goes, I had another seizure. I said, you better get on your knees right now and you better pray to God for an answer because I've got nothing. Mm-hmm. I don't know what to do. I don't know who to call. I am feeling very lost right now. Yeah. And I'm losing my bearing. I need God's input on this. Yeah. Driving the car, sobbing, 20 minutes. Please tell me what to do. I know you can't come in human form, but I need you to show yourself. Yeah. I go back to the office, my phone rings. I pick up my phone, thinking it's a bill collector, because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm ready for you right now. Yeah. You bring it on, let me tell you my life. I get on the phone and they say, this is Lenny from Thrive Church. Do you need any prayer today? off that phone, I could see God being like, I told you, I got it. I told you, I got it.
Wow.
You gotta relax, dude.
Yeah.
You gotta relax.
Yeah.
And so that moment was like, okay, I got it. Like God literally showed himself. And we literally got the medication sorted out. He ended up increasing one, decreasing another. And at that moment, God showed me, I need you to take a different path. It is your time to stand up, and you need to be the cheerleader for other people. I am going to give you your testimony. And I need you to stop asking for Dan's healing, because I need you to bring Dan.
Just pause right there, child. Because the church world be like, what? Don't ask for healing? I just want you to say that again. Just repeat that.
God literally told me, do not ask for your husband's healing. I need you to bring your husband to me.
Wow.
That is what I need you to do. And I literally had a moment where I had to go home to him. Again, sobbing. I'm a big sobber.
Yeah.
And saying, I'm done. I'm not asking for your healing. God has literally told me I need to bring you to him. You need to ask for your healing. Wow. If you want to be healed of this and you want peace and joy and love, you need to go to the Father. And at that moment when God told me that, do you know what I literally thought of? Well, of course. What was I thinking? So let me understand this. I was expecting God to heal him because of my prayers, so that my husband could tell everybody that the neural pace healed him and God wouldn't get the glory. Do I not honor God at all?
Wow.
Like God's like, you know that I do things for my glory to be shown.
Yes.
And at that moment, we started doing the Our Father every day. And anytime my husband was feeling down and depressed, let me pray with you now.
Yes.
I'm not going to hide my God from you. Is my Jesus showing?
Yeah. I
would have this joy inside me, and he'd be like, this is the last day. This day's horrible. I hate my life, and I can't drive.
Yeah.
And in the past, I'd be like, oh my gosh, what can we do? And I have to make it better.
Yeah.
And I would look at him, and I'm like, no, see, I have this joy and this peace from God.
Yes.
And so this that you're bringing on is not going to stop this. I can pray with you.
Sure.
I can invite you into my life of joy and peace. But here's the deal. You're not going to steal my peace and my joy, because I own it.
So when was that break in the boundary of realizing almost what you said in the beginning? And I know this is long, guys, but this is, women can talk forever. What was the break in that conversation where you're like, because in the beginning you said, God said you're two individual people almost. I'm rephrasing.
Yeah.
And this is your life and this is his life.
Right.
But I have you together, even though, you want to be one. You are one through this physical marriage that we know. But I'm still working with you both individually.
Exactly the point. Because it's the influence that we have on one another. And God's like, I need you to stop enabling and codependency. And I need you to say, we all have influence. And I need you to take this joy and peace that I've given you, and I need you to spread it. I need you to be the tea bag. The tea bag in hot water changes the water.
Yes.
It's not the potato that sucks in the water and becomes soft.
Right.
God's like, I'm giving you the joy and the peace. I need you to be authentic and sincere. I need you to feel that peace and that joy. And I need you to look at him, and I need you to go, see, this, I'm not going to take this in. Instead, I'm going to say, would you like some joy and peace on a plate?
Yes.
Here we go.
Because in parts, right, those are not your parts that he's portraying. And you don't have to consume those parts. You can leave those parts where they are.
That's right.
And invite some of the joy that you have.
That's right.
Into himself.
And you don't.
But he has to. You said something very important about he has to go to God. Your job was to bring him there.
Exactly.
Just to bring him almost at the feet, at that pulling. What? How did you refer to it?
To meet him where he is.
Yeah.
To bring him to the altar. And that's the thing. And I said, we're going to do the Our Father every single day. Mm-hmm. And his cognitive is difficult for him to get some things, some more complicated, deep conversations.
Yes.
But what's great about that is when I read the Bible and I get a message, I get to change it, and I get to bring it all the way down here so he can relate to it, which helps me to retain it, and it helps me to tell it in a much more relatable fashion in the way that I see it in my head, which is kind of fun. Which is really bringing and changing my journey a little bit to be like, this Bible is amazing! Because sometimes you read those stories back in the, you're like, oh no, she didn't. Are you kidding me? She did not!
The Bible is one of the most amazing historic books ever. You're like, oh my God, that did not. No, you didn't.
That's right. You're like, this will beat the housewives of Atlanta any day of the week. You got nothing on that stuff. It is the best story ever written. I have to just say you one thing. They're on the boat, okay? Jesus just fed 5,000. A miracle on the mountain. Just fed them.
Yeah.
They're on the boat, and Jesus is walking along. They're like, for me, this would be me. You're not. Come here, Simon. He's walking on the water. Come here, John. Did you see this? Jesus, look at you go. Healing people, feeding them, and then you're walking on the water. Look at you. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand. Oh my God, fear of things. You look at it from like a different perspective.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to make it like relatable. But it's just fascinating because they were people just like us.
Yeah.
They weren't this like fawning, pawning, gullible, Jesus, I'm hanging with him, he's good, it's great, everything's wonderful, I got peace and joy. Because isn't it true that sometimes we lose our way? Mm-hmm. And we think we're alone in that?
Yeah. But
the disciples themselves, who walked with Jesus every day, had those same insecurities that we feel.
And all the questions and all the questions,
right.
all the thoughts, all the curiosity. So it's almost like it was Jesus in a bunch of parts with them,
And he was the perfect coach. Because how much do you love the rhetorical questions? So, how are we going to feed these people today?
Yeah.
To me, I'd be like, well, you're Jesus. How are you going to feed these people? What do you need? A prayer? You need some sticks? Wait. But again, why is he asking the question? He's asking the question, why? To draw awareness, to increase, to help them, to aid them. And as coaches, we ask the questions to aid your growth.
Yeah.
And Jesus does that beautifully. Jesus
always
does that
used
beautifully.
The parts.
He uses that, and Paul
and that
does
one powerful question he would ask.
And Paul does the same thing. Like Romans is literally like an FAQ. I literally want to write an FAQ because it's question, answer, question, answer. I'm like, what is up with all the rhetorical questions?
I love it.
And now I'm like, oh, I totally get it, Paul. I'm totally going to meet you where you are.
Yeah.
So
the living. So now what's going on? So you just celebrated something, and I want you to tell everyone.
I just celebrated 1 year seizure free.
Woo! Wait, hold on. I have a gift.
Yes. I'm a cheerleader coach.
Yes. So celebrations.
That's right.
For all of it.
It's unbelievable. It's absolutely it is God glorified, number one, but number two, I always think of the Wizard of Oz, and I think of the fact that she wanted the red shoes to work at the very beginning. And when I can't remember the queen, the princess says, yes, you know what, they'll work now, just tap them. And she says, why didn't you tell me that before? Well, you had to learn your lessons well. And I think on our journey of life, sometimes we don't realize that we might be in the middle of learning our lessons.
Yes.
And that's really, really important. And I don't think we should want the end to come as soon as we think. We think we want the end to come, but it's within the journey. That's where the depth comes up.
Yeah.
And that's where the life is lived.
So what's Ann up to now post the celebration? Where is Ann today? Like, what's Ann doing?
So much joy and peace and enthusiasm because I have come back to my authentic self that I was so many years ago. When I was 15 years old, I was in a foster home.
Okay.
I had an issue with my mother. I went to a foster home, and God has brought me back to that place and said, do you remember when you were in that foster home and how you felt, and you had such a sense of peace because you didn't know how or why or what was going to happen, but you knew that everything was going to be okay. And he said, I want to bring you back to that space, and I want you to live there, and I want that person that has this joy and this love of God and life and self to show up every day when you wake up.
Yes.
And I have come back to that because
beautiful.
I remember way back when that I just had this free spirit of sharing love and enthusiasm and energy and positivity because I want that person to show up.
And even though you were in that space.
Yes,
wow.
Exactly. And I'm like, and that's how I show up every day. And I'm looking to help other people on their journey. Because it isn't my job, just like with my husband, it's not my job to fix you and to help you and to give you an answer. That's not my job. My job is to be like, you need to find your truth and on your journey. And going back to the Wizard of Oz, I want to be your scarecrow, maybe your Tin Man, maybe your lion. I want to be on your cheerleading team, and I want to champion for you.
Yes.
But I'm not here to walk your walk because, unfortunately, you have to walk that walk. Because by you doing that, you are going to grow and live and become better than you ever thought that you can be. And we don't realize that in the beginning. We just want, help, I want. Guess what? It's hard, but you're going to grow from it, and you're going to learn from it, and it's going to be the most amazing thing in the world. And personally, for my story, I can't wait to see how it ends. I'm always like, what's next?
Yes.
You know, because it really is a journey, and it is something to say. You know what? I want to wake up, and there's two really important verses that are in the Our Father. And number one, on earth as it is in heaven.
Yes.
On earth as it is. It's not about this. It's about this.
Yes.
This is heaven.
Yes.
That's heaven right there. Hold it. Grasp it. Live that heaven right here on earth.
Yes.
Number one, and number two, give us this day our daily bread, and to live in the moment. And if there's one thing my husband teaches me every single day is to live for today.
Yes.
Because today is what we're given, and it's our presence, not our presence, that people are going to remember. That's our takeaway.
I love it. And you have been phenomenal. I was going to ask you for pearls of wisdom or something, but I believe those were it.
Are you ready for it?
Yes.
May my broken roads turn into your stepping stones.
Let's share that.
May my broken road turn into your stepping stones.
Wow. That's beautiful.
So.
That is beautiful.
So.
I really appreciate your testimony as a woman. So in my world, and I think I'm very safe with you to say this, I always hear this, strong black woman, No, I see a strong, amazing, beautiful woman that looks very similar to me, yet there's the skin difference, and you are one of the strongest women I've come across because you're yet smiling, you're yet healing, you're yet sharing, you haven't closed yourself in a cocoon, your faith is still way up here. I have people that's good music. I have people that, or I've heard people that have said, I lost my faith when someone cheated. I lost my faith in God when someone did this to me. Yet your faith is ever abundant. And I'm sure there's challenges, like you say, you're having that conversation with God.
And you know why? Because sometimes when you say, this has taken me to my knees, you need to think, that's good, because that's exactly where God will meet you. And that's where you should be, is on your knees. And sometimes we wait too long to realize that.
Yeah.
Because personally, like when my husband had the grand mal seizure, I thought to myself, well, this is going to be a good story. Just think of all the unexpected. Think of the stories that are in your book.
Yeah.
Do you want 2 chapters of hanging out in the cocoon, or do you want a chapter?
Buying ceramics.
Right. Do you want a chapter like, oh my God, you're never going to believe what I did.
Yeah.
You are never going to believe what happened. But here's the deal: in order for those things to happen, you have to be out there living.
Yeah.
Because we honestly have a story to tell.
Yes.
Each of us have a story, and we can't go back and write the beginning, but we sure as heck can write the ending.
Yes.
And we want to remember that. And we are influencing people. Whether you know it or not, you influence each person. You have influence. And what is that influence saying? And who are you influencing? How are you influencing them? It's not just about you. It's self on the shelf. And when you take yourself out of it and you look around of how can I give and how can I have that flow to another person, that's where the love comes in.
Yeah.
That's where the depth comes in.
So forget about them, our audience, which we really appreciate you guys so much for watching. But I'm going to take this personal with me and Ann just for a moment. Girl, what do you have for me? What words of wisdom do you have as your peer, as your friend?
Yeah.
Just woman to woman. What words would you share with me? Just...
I think the biggest thing is the understanding of that what you have had that has gotten you to where you are is not going to be what's going to get you from where you are to where you want to be.
I see. Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing. Because sometimes we think, oh, I've done this, it's going to get me here, I can use that same thing to get me to the next step, and it isn't.
Right.
Like it's a constant evolution. It's not a revolution. And that's a really important thing to do. And the reason why is because we need to be open to that. Because sometimes something happens, we're like, well, I didn't expect that to happen.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't let it throw you.
Yeah. Don't let it throw you.
Because it will turn out to be amazing and great.
Yeah.
Somehow, some way. Even the worst adversity in the world can end up being the testimony that will bring you that peace and that joy and that love that you're constantly looking for.
Yeah.
Because you can find it in everything and anything.
Yeah, there's something I always say, if you look for the good will be there.
Yeah.
You know, if you look for the bad, it's going to be there.
It's the story of the very rich man who had 2 rooms, and he wanted to find out what type of sons he had.
Yeah.
And he put his 2 sons in 2 rooms of manure, throws them in there, and he leaves them in there for a while. And he opens the first door, and the son's like, I can't believe this, and this is awful and terrible. How could you do this to me, Father? You're terrible. Yeah. And he opens up the other room, and he's going, where the heck did that boy go? And he sees his son in the very back, digging. He goes, son, what are you doing? He goes, well, with all this manure, there's got to be a pony in here somewhere. And it's that idea that we have to look for our pony.
Yeah.
Because our pony is in there. There is something to be found
isn't that
in every circumstance.
Isn't that with perspective?
Yes.
It's almost like, I hope that my awareness is open enough that I could see the wisdom even in the manure.
Exactly.
Right?
That's
like
the point.
what is it that I know that there's something in here, right?
Yeah.
And I might not find a pony, it might be something else.
Yes. But you have to be open to that because you'll miss it.
Yeah.
If you're not that openness to say, okay, let's just do a paradigm shift and let's just see what do we have, what can we use. Again, going back to our reality is based on each experience that we have of what we're taking away from it.
Yeah.
So are your takeaways taking you where you want to go?
Oh. Ooh.
And
could you just say that again to the audience now? I will share that with them.
Our reality is based on our experiences and our takeaways from each experience. Are your takeaways taking you to where you want to go?
Ooh. Let's end on that because that is very powerful. Let's just sit in that for a moment.
Sure.
Are your takeaways taking you where you want to go?
Yep.
Ann Canfield, everyone. Can you tell us where people could reach out to you if they want to just speak to you more about your testimony, about your strength in womanhood, your strength in wifelyhood, your strength in being a sister for others,
Sure.
and a mother for many?
Absolutely. You can find me at my website from strengthtodayLC.com, or you can reach out to me at ANNC at strengthtodayLC.com. I would love to be able to connect with you. Anything that I can do to assist.
Awesome.
So, because my question for you is, what's your story? Because that's always a good starting point.
There it is. And if anyone wants to bear and share your testimony with me in person, live in our Sit, Sip, and Chat studios, please link to me. All right? So we're going to end. One love. Are there any final words that you have?
I don't. It's been a pleasure. I really appreciate the time, to say the least.
Thank you.
It's been absolutely wonderful.
Thank you. And thank you again so much for showing up and just for being my friend and just being an amazing sister to me. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, guys. Until again, we'll speak with you guys soon. Peace. Okay, let's see where the... Okay.
What'd you think? Good?